All right. Good evening, everyone. We are so excited to be here this evening to listen to one of North Carolina's most renowned poets, Mr. Paul Jones, the Paul Jones. He is here to share his wonderful work with us. And I just want to share just a little bit about Paul Jones. A manuscript of Paul Jones' poems crashed into the moon's surface in 2019. Another moonshot in February 2024 landed successfully. In 2021, Jones was inducted into the North Carolina Computer Science Hall of Fame. His book, Something Wonderful, was published by Redhawk Publications the same year. In 2024, Jones' poem Geode was plagiarized multiple times by the notorious serial offender John Kucera. Recently, Jones has published poems in the New Verse Review, Salvation South, Tar River Poetry, and Southern Poetry Review, as well as in anthologies including Best American Erotic Poems, 1800 to the present. Something Necessary, Paul Jones' second book of poems, became available September 24th from Redhawk Publications. And for more on Paul Jones, you can find him on most social media sites as @SmallJones. And I will be putting that information in the chat. We are so excited to have him. I am, of course, Regina Garcia, and my trusty co-host Karen Stewart is here to make sure that everything goes smoothly as we ecstatically invite Mr. Paul Jones to NCPS Presents. Let's greet him with a hand.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you, Karen, for having me here, and thank you for the NC Poetry Society for this program so that a lot of us can reach out to other members and other friends that are in the Poetry Society. I appreciate it.
Yes. I want you to know there was more I could have said, but I'm going to save it. I think I might parse it out just throughout.
There's a lot about Paul. We can all say a lot about Paul, probably. Hey, I did want to say something not specifically about Paul, just to let everybody know that we love an active chat. So as Paul is reading or doing whatever it is Paul's going to do tonight, feel free to put your comments and your impressions in the chat so that he can see later how he was doing. No pressure.
No pressure. Okay. Most of the poems I'm going to read tonight are from Something Necessary, but there are a few that aren't, just because there's some old favorites and some brand new ones, and we'll do that. Should I start now? Is this good?
Yes, anytime you're ready. We're ready.
Well, I'm as ready as I can possibly be. My mother wished herself a crow. My mother wished herself a crow. I, in turn, became her worm. When she tugged at me, I tugged back. She always dressed in black. I, like the ground, preferred to be shaded in browns. Sometimes she seemed to hang in the air, moving in ways I would never dare. She was dark, and I was drawn to all dark places, all dark things. I still imagine the wild movements of her broad black wings over me, shadowing me. I was odd to her. She the bird, knew her head and tail, her feathers short and long. At both ends, I seemed to her the same, featherless and feature-free. She hardly recognized me. I called her name, as close to a caw as I could come, as I crawled on concrete after a hard rain. I called, and she, most motherly, came. She draped me in her beak. In a moment, I was raised, airborne, soon to be high flown. How different from the world I'd known, a world where I had to make my own way. I wanted the earth again. She offered only air. In the end, I fell away. To me, the soul alone felt alive, felt like home. She, in her own way, fled to her heights, her nest, suspended, airy, unattended. She in time came to rest here, among my roots, under my leaves, beneath soft green moss. To be inside the earth for her was something new, the last thing she would do. I made her a mausoleum, a smooth and even mound. I did what worms do, and she became the ground. Staying with the theme of blackbirds, this is a poem that will be in some of your inboxes tomorrow if you subscribe to Rattle. So it's called Vultures in Hillsborough, North Carolina. It responds to a news story in which Hillsborough has a vulture problem, too many of them. Vultures in Hillsborough, NC. When they come, they bring the fearful dark, like English majors looking for work. Feather-caped, barefaced in red or black. Now there is no empty tree. Stained bark's one sign they leave. They show no respect when they come. They bring the fearful dark. They praise flesh with a twist of their necks, with their hiss from song-refusing beaks, feather-caped, barefaced in red or black. Where they've been is easy to detect, bones realigned by their secret sect. When they come, they bring the fearful dark. They keep it hid, or so I suspect. Deep in images that our minds connect, feather-caped, barefaced in red or black, to murder, suicide, auto wrecks. They slip away like impatient clerks. They come back, bringing our winged fears, dark, feather-caped, barefaced, in red and black. I'd like to take us from Hillsborough right now to Ireland, to County Donegal. And the town is Letterkenny. It's right across the border from Derry. And we'll be in the Wolftown Bar, at least for part of this. Only an outsider. One more bog body lifted out of the dense layers of peat, up into the Irish fog, outside Letterkenny. The politics has shifted. That was the tale repeated by a bus driver from Prague. He'd downed maybe 20 beers inside the Wolftown Bar. The loud drunk said uneasy with the weight of what he knew. The decor, late IRA, clientele with ink and scars, accents at once breezy, sweet, and terse, sounded askew to ears from Carolina. I felt I'd heard this before, not from a West Slavic slant, so out of place here under posters of the starving martyrs, Bobby Sands, and the others, but from some other transplant, some other slur or mutter about some other murder. Then, as here, a heavy door opened. The afternoon sun lit the dark room like neon, a bright sign that signaled no one should say any more about what might have been done, who drove the car, who was gone, and who was finally jailed. That echo is everywhere, from Belgrade to Bangalore. Everyone knows those whispers. They know not to gasp or stare. Only an outsider dare, and then when too drunk to say more. And another outsider listen, nod, and seem to care. While we're in Ireland, I thought I'd move us south to County Mayo, to a small churchyard where there is a sign that says, burial by permission only. You know there's a story that someone would put up a sign that says burial by permission only. So, of course, I made up a story. Burial by permission only. It would be his last enjoyment. Although dead, still a bit odd. We took his ashes straight from Mass, first to the pub where it began. As night settled on the churchyard, we leapt the wall and pushed through the yews. His body earned in light tin he'd chosen, paid with a debit card, as empty as the church's pews. He'd given all to romantic love and drink. She believed only in the first, both married, but that had long given in. His respect for marriage was legendary, mostly in the breach. Tit for tat, and the pair's talk soon led to bed. Some years of not so secret tryst. She died first. Her husband went next. Laid side by side, stone at head, a couple never known to kiss, much less dabble in lust or sex. That's where our dear friend came in, and that night we came to bring him to be on top, as she last asked. We didn't so much bury him as say a prayer, hum a hymn, turn over a clump of grass. A wisp of his gray dust puffed up and mixed with the moonlight and gray mist. Most joined her in the holy side, where the pair are at last blessed by, we hope, a forgiving God. The next poem, I don't know whether this is, I asked people yesterday if they had seen this practice, and either they were lying or they're sinners. Many churches, not Episcopalians or Presbyterians, but others, have a rite they call altar call. Yes, Regina knows this, and this is where you come up and reconfirm your faith, or you make your thing. So this, of course, being raised Presbyterian and Episcopalian, was totally alien to me. Like, we sit there and we don't do anything until we're told to. But when I was a teenager, I was invited on what I thought was a date. Altar call. If I had not gone up, I would have missed my ride. So it didn't take me long to decide to join in the soft swaying line of shoe-shined, one-mind mankind. I became another link in the salvation chain, unsure if I would be saved, and if so, from what? Maybe a bully's punch in the gut, maybe from lust. While I feared the first, I was lured by the last. After all, that's why I came. Now I forget her name. I was flattered when she asked me to her church until her card filled with 5 other anxious, tight-jean teens. Isn't that the way love finds you? You get drawn into the unknown by promises, smiles, nods, and winks. You never stop to think where the line will lead or end. Then you kneel at love's altar and become a man. While we're on religious ceremonies, there is a serendipitous religious ceremony that is practiced in many towns in North Carolina. There's a sign that lets you know when it's happening, a red flashing sign that says "Hot Now," and it's at the Krispy Kreme. This is Hot Now, an ode to Krispy Kreme donuts. They have no ends, no centers. Angelically white they rise. They expand before our eyes. Light, lithe, gracefully bloated. Hillbilly bagels begin their float down the river of hot oil, wafting as we are watching. They are casually comforting as they fry, tan, taut yet tender. Midway, midstream, they execute their athletically perfect flip, effortless as young gymnasts, as surfers on white wave tips, half naked for now, unsuited, half pale. They seek an evenness intent. They take their sweet time before they come to us hot off the rollers through the shower of molten sugar, a waterfall of nearly supernatural supersaturation. Their glaze, as we gaze, becomes opaque as windows on summer days. I'll down a dozen before daybreak. Even if I lose all my teeth, I would still keep my sweet tooth. If I die of cardiac arrest, at least I will have had the best last meal. Not that I'm asking to die, but that's the honest truth. I want to get back to birds because poets can't seem to stay away from them. If you've been had a chance to be down at Weymouth and stay there, they have a great writers in residence program that I've enjoyed. Right behind the house is a preserve of longleaf pines, and in it is the red-cockaded woodpecker, a little guy that has very specific needs. The red-cockaded woodpecker. This bird this bird seeks out the ruined heart of tall pines. Trees that take a long time to set down roots before they work on what will be their crowns. Trees that reach out like high school cheerleaders, each limb pom-pommed with long needles. Limbs that know how to move with the wind. Limbs that rarely know the weight of snow. None of this can protect their red hearts. Something worms its way past the bark, the way rust finds a way through armor, the way trust is lost between lovers. This bird knows how to find its way in when hearts are tender, while resin can still flow, where birds can be built for nest, where families can be raised. Its work starts with failure at the heart. I, so the next poem takes us back in time and then forward. And new to me little journal out of Central New York, 9 Mile, took it. And so I'm happy with it. It's kind of it's called Overpass. Eddie was proposing another petty crime, the one that would end with his Army enlistment and what would become a one-way trip to Vietnam. As usual, he made things sound easy, fun even, just a little paint on concrete, a message cluing friends to who had done the job. We met at 11, not far from the overpass, each of us in dark colors, like ninjas or seals or someone daring to break a few rules. The paint cost a few dollars, so we all chipped in. That plus the beer and doobies cemented our bonds. The 4 of us were slapping "Fuck you, Klan" above the surges of traffic, a thing of beauty, until the blue lights changed the scene in our moods. We were proud of ourselves. We stood up in secret. We showed who we were. We were bad, but doing good. Eddie was in the back seat, and I was in the brush. The other 2, who knew? More lights, but none hit me. The cops drove Eddie off. I wanted to help, but no rush, I told myself. But by dawn, Eddie's dad had signed him out and signed him up to serve. He had had the papers all but inked. Before ship-off time came, Eddie was confined. The next I knew, a postcard came from sunny Saigon. Eddie was cheerful, or so he said. But by next week, his folks got the knock no one wants to hear. Eddie was gone. 5 decades later, I drove under that same bridge. I swear I could still make out our faded smears, ghostly, yet alive, or a trick of light, or a mirage. I want to do a little bit of tone change here. Talking in the Dark is the next little sonnet. Talking in the dark can be a way to begin falling in love or becoming friends again after a difficult day. In summer, when late light walks away, when the kitchen knives laid on the table hold galaxies that remind us to be playful, despite the sharp edges the sun showed us. Paired in the dark and passion, night knows us in ways we don't know ourselves. Something in us, coded in our cells, goes back to the time of sleeping in caves, when words were made to be believed, where the walls were painted for dreams, for magic, for hunts with spears, daggers, and hatchets. The people on the walls are working together. They have no anger. They have only hunger. Okay. The next poem is an old favorite of mine because it's a lot of fun to write. Many of you, I'm sure, have had roommates that might not be the best person. This is my roommate, Geoffrey. For I will consider my roommate Geoffrey, for despite being pretentious and a stoner, he pays his part of the bills on time, except for the electric bill, which he considers an illegal tax. For when he has the munchies, he will share his late night burrito with me and any guest. But as he is vegan, it will be stuffed with tofu and beans and onion, thereby making the offer one that is rarely accepted. For he is a fan of classic rock, more than a fan. He played In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida on vinyl on repeat for days until he misplaced the record, or the cleaning crew took it, or he can't recall right now. For he clips his toenails while sitting on our shared sofa, which he will clean up eventually. Eventually. For while he clips, he cheers on perpetually losing sports teams, the almost made it's, amongst whom are the Cubs, Cleveland, even with LeBron, Carolina football, both Panthers and Tar Heels, even the Hamilton Tiger Cats. For he will not channel surf from a sports channel once he is engaged, nor will he allow another person to participate in such a practice. For he loses his sports bets with dignity, but without actual payment of said losses. For he wears a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt each year on September 18. For said shirt has not been washed since 1970 on that terrible day. For he reminds me and everyone he meets of this fact on that day. For he spells his name, not as Chaucer hath spelt his name, and thus he pronounces it unlike any other person and expects you to do the same. For his girlfriends are cute and inconstant, but not infrequent. For they often want to, he is often out of the apartment when they visit. For they often want to share wine. Once the wine is shared, one named Sally, who I especially enjoy, confesses that I am the true object of her interest and affection. Geoffrey does not trust me to feed his cat Nico, although I am very reliable, and Nico prefers my company to that of Geoffrey. For he is traveling to Colombia, despite State Department warnings not to go there, for he seeks the only pot worth smoking. For Geoffrey has only one key, which he has left with Sally while he is traveling. For he has asked her to check on his cat while he is away, and she has been very reliable. For we have gotten quite close. For he never holds a grudge. For he is forgiving. For he stays away for months. And I want to close my part of this with one more religious poem. This is the major religion of the state, whether you celebrate your sect as at Duke or at State or at Carolina or at Wake Forest. Basketball is a kind of poetry. Basketball, the round ball, the brown ball, the rock, and an alley-oop, an air ball, an assist, a one-on-one or a one-and-one off the backboard, the hot shot, the ball hog, the pistol, to the big man with a baseball pass, off the bench into the baseline, out of the box in one for a buzzer beater, a bonus from the bricklayer, double dribble, double, double, double nickel, double team, double bonus, finger roll for a field goal, a floater to the forward for a 4-point play after that flagrant foul, that breakaway on a fast break followed by a fadeaway. The guard guns a granny shot, the center pivots when he's hot, half-court jump shots heating up, lay up, lay in, then laid out in overtime in extra minutes, palming in the paint when he should be posting up, over the rainbow for a rim shot after a running gun against the man-to-man, up and down for a turnover, then a swish, a swat in the air, a tray, a travel, another turnover, a slam dunk, then on the rim, a tip-in. Another nail from the perimeter. Nothing but the net, then drop the dime. The whistle says, we're out of time. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Paul Jones. Let's come off mute, give him a hand.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Wow. Hey.
Oh my
So much
goodness.
fun.
Oh my
So
goodness.
good. So
Yeah.
good.
Thank
You
you.
know, and it's always amazing to me how, you know, of course your poetry is infused with humor, but in the midst of the humor, you can take us to this place that just almost sobers you, you know. So I just love to listen to it. And I just want to do you have questions? Karen is our question facilitator.
I always have questions.
Yes.
Paul, do you have answers? That's the main question.
I'm generally evasive,
We like
but
that.
I appreciate it, the opportunity to evade.
Paul, I really just have to say I am loving this book so much. And I'm so happy that I got to hear you read poetry 2 days in a row. What a treat.
Well, thank you.
I would love to know how these poems came to be. Like, what was your process? Well, 2 questions. I really want to know, like, what your writing process is like. That's a big question. Let's start with that. What is your writing process?
So I enjoy reading poetry, and the curse of that is that I occasionally write it. So since in the 80s, I had this little career as a writer somewhat. And then I got an MFA in the early 90s at Warren Wilson. And then I became a father and my job took off. Some other things happened. So writing seemed like selfish time, really. Mm. And but my plan for retirement was to come back to it and sort of rediscover it. And the hard part to that is, you know what a good poem is, and you know you're not writing it. Mm-hmm. You know that almost every day anyway, but you really know it when you had some time that you were really, really writing. And now you're like trying to rediscover where your voice is now, how you can bring things back to it where it is. So a little bit of a rough start, but now you ask about process. I try to read more poetry than I write. That's like my first rule. Not necessarily about how to write poetry, because I'm slowly reading Ellen Bryant Voigt's Art of Syntax book, which is part of the Art of series from is it from Copper Canyon or Gray Wolf? I forget, but I think it's Copper Canyon. And in fact, one of my friends, I meet him for lunch every couple of weeks, and I always have that book, and he goes, "I don't think you've gotten any further." Because I'll get distracted. I'll read this and then I'll go, "Oh, I remember a poem and what that happens," and then I'll end up reading in the poetry. And then I write every day, however badly. And I just saw somewhere that Terrence Hayes also says this, and if you have something down, and I learned this from Tom Lux when I was at Warren Wilson, if you have something on the paper, you can develop it. If you just have it in your head, it'll be gone soon. So, and I'm also driven, as you might have heard, by sound and rhythm heavily. And so a lot of these poems have some sort of formal structure, whether it's one that I invented or whether it's what formalist poets call received forms, which is kind of BS, frankly, because we received the sonnet from the Italians, but by then, as soon as Shakespeare and others got it, they mooned it into something else. And then when the sonnets came to America, people like Wanda Coleman changed it radically and picked up by Hayes and Hayes and Diane Zeus, operating that kind of form where you're doing something that's more or less 14 lines or whatever. But it's an interesting thing. Last night I did a little, the second poem that you'll see in Rattle is a villanelle. And so Timothy Green goes like, when did you know it was going to be a villanelle? I mean, this is like, how do you know any of this? Because the language starts, once you have a language pattern that you fall in, the story and the images or the lyric start developing and surprising you. You know, I don't start out knowing, for example, the story in the Irish graveyard. I had no idea what was going to go. I just realized that who in the hell would be buried there? And I just started making up something. And I went, well, obviously they have to slip somebody in there. And in one version, they were going to be caught. All this stuff was going on. But once I had the structure going in which the end words in one stanza rhyme with the end words, the second stanza. So they're very short lines. So it compacts that sound. That just propels it. And you start discovering things. You know, I think Kim last night and other places, people have been talking, these writers are talking about, here's how I get in the flow state. I'm going, I was a computer coder. We lived in the flow state. It's like what we do all the time. So when I went to writing, the only thing I had to do was like think like a coder.
Oh, wow.
You know, that you get in the flow state by being taken into a pattern. And that pattern could be free verse, it could be prosy, it could be, but it lets, to me, the three powers that make a poem happen are on one level, personal experience, which may inform it, it may be part of it. The other is tradition, which includes these forms or anybody else that you wrote there. And the other part is the imagination, you know, stuff that has never existed before, but somehow leaps into your head and associates these things. And if you have those going, you're going to have a pretty good poem. If it's too much personal experience, it's just memoir, you know, and a little heavily weighed down. And people will, even free verse writers, are writing in a structure that you see it, you can just see the structure. You know, if you're, I should say one other thing about being a coder or thinking in patterns is one of the things that we teach ourselves to do, and I used to teach people to do. You see something, some problem, and you realize this is a pattern that you can fit things into. And so that's also true here. So how did I know that was a villanelle? I had no fucking clue. But I had two lines, the first and third. Now, these are pretty good lines. I wonder if I can use them a lot more. And I could have used them in a rondeau. I could have used them in maybe trying to do some sort of linked tercets. I could have done, but whatever it was, the vultures were insistent. And when you're doing an insistent poem, that's what a villanelle is. You know, it's, if you think of I Wake to Sleep, Rothko's Do Not Go Gentle, Art of Losing. There's one other, or two or three others that are, but the villanelles are, at least in America, the one that Americans often go to is Francois Villon's Where Are the Snows of Yesterday, which is all about, you know, when the troubadours were doing it, they were singing about their love and about landscape and about all this. When Villon gets it, it's about all these prostitutes that I used to see, like they've all gotten out of the business. Where are the snows of yesterday? And then he calls them out. Or yesteryear, as it's sometimes translated, but it sounds like the theme to the Lone Ranger. That's a long answer.
Paul,
Hey.
that's the best answer anybody has ever given to any poetry question ever.
Ever.
Well, you notice I don't stay on topic. It makes it easier.
That
It's a little
that was
wandering,
great.
like wandering through the corn maze or something.
So, Paul, I want to ask you about this book, and then I'm going to let other people ask you questions, or
Okay.
you can just talk randomly. So the poems that are in this book, were you writing toward the book, or were you literally just what comes, and maybe it ended up in here?
Say the second. A lot of the people I know and respect can conceive of a book and write it, or the book appears to them out of the poems that they've written. I've made my peace with myself, and that I don't do that. Is that I pretty much write poems, and they do sometimes go together, and but to me, there are very few poetry books, unless they're highly narrative, that I read from beginning to end. And this is poems that I've written. I don't think there are any that are pre-COVID in it. There may be one or two, but I don't know whether my poems are. I'm not a very good judge of the quality of my own poems, and so if an editor says she likes it, and then I go, oh, this must be a great poem. I'll put this right in there. In that way, I think, a little confession, I think I'm a little bit like William Stafford in that way. He used to do a lot of the same practice that I just talked about. He wrote every day, and people say, Bill, how do you do that? And he goes, I just lower my standards and write more.
That's great.
Then the next question was, how do you know it's good and should go in the book? He goes, they pay editors for that.
That's great.
So it does change the pressure, but it also means that possibly it's uneven or whatever. But I'm 75, or will be in a couple of weeks, and so the amount of shits I have to give are quite small. I don't aspire to a job in poetry because I don't want a job. I already did that. I don't aspire to an appointment in the English department because I was near those people. I know who they are. And I don't, I'm not what one friend called a BTP, a big time poet. Those are people who are going to be published by Norton or whatever. And I don't worry about that. I'm just having a great time. I enjoy reading poetry. It's a treat for me to be able to do this every day, and to be able to talk to you guys, and to be able to hear your poems, and to be able to go to events and hear people read. It's something I wanted to do for a period of a couple of decades when I didn't get to do it at all. And now, what is it Larkin says in the poem The Old Fools? The closer you are to the peak, the clearer the vision. And not the peak, but you're going up a mountain to the end of it,
Right. But well, Paul, I'm glad that you are doing what you're doing. It is working, and it is a treat. And I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody on that. Absolute delight. Thank you for writing and putting these poems together and getting them published and sharing them live time with people. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to do it. And thank all you guys for coming here and listening. Yeah. Thank you.
We are just again so thankful for your coming here. You make light of yourself, but you are the deal. So we're excited. I'm also excited about the wonderful people who have actually come to see you, because I know they bring with them a plethora of talents. We have open mic. Has anybody come in that has not signed up for open mic and wants to be a part of it? Okay, no? Okay. So we're gonna start with our very own Janice Harrington. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Janice Harrington, I'm gonna pin you, and there you go.
Thank you, Regina. I'm going to read a poem from Cackalack 2024. And apologies to those of you who've heard it already. Pagan babies. Unbaptized, languishing in China, India, or Peru. Doomed to limbo unless our third grade class interceded with nickels, dimes, and quarters. Sister Angela chalked the daily tally on the dusty blackboard, and when it hit $5, we purchased a baby, voted on a patron saint's name. Mondays, I clanked half my 50-cent allowance into the orange Sanka coffee can, but it was not virtue buttressing my sacrifice. Worried that I was bad and afraid of hell's flames, I made layaway payments on salvation, coin by coin, like my mother, week by week, pasting A&P stamps on an inked grid in a small book, earning her blue willow set, its pagodas and weeping trees, bowl by bowl, cup by cup, plate by plate.
Wow, wow, wow. The title itself, and then just wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. All right, next we have Miss Lucinda True coming to the mic. Let me do my pinning and unpinning. Let's see. There we go.
Well, I'm just in awe of everything we've heard this evening. So in awe. This poem is in honor of a poet we lost this year, a North Carolina poet, our good friend, Danny Powell. I wrote this on the evening that she passed, October 10th. And if you recall, that was right around the time of Hurricane Helene. And we were having rains and flooding and deluge. So there was just grief all around. And this poem is titled New Grass Days for Danny, October 10th, 2024. A friend died today, and I cannot cry. I am bone dry, though the world around me swells and sobs with rain and hurricane waves. It is that time of year, early fall, when the sun loosens its long hold on days, and we turn back clocks, christen storms, light candles when squalls hasten dark. She died swiftly, a pristine golden leaf blown from a brilliant spangled tree, unseasonably soon. Too soon, and still I cannot cry. I recall sunroom visits, that low country laugh, glasses of Prosecco, coaxing stories from one another rapid fire, because we found friendship late in this letting go season of gale force winds that topple us, tie us to the ballast of one another's sorrow and joy, loosen our tongues to reveal tough root, tender shoot, and the longing to know the chronicles of new grass days, glistening and green, dewy with the dream of spring rain and silken blades that taste of wheat, and jade, the lushness of revealing and reveling in knowing. Yet here we are, just me now, grieving dry-eyed, gazing across a straw-tossed lawn in need of watering.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. The I cannot cry. I think so many of us connected with that, and still I cannot cry. You know, when you think about those who who you love and have lived well, and beautiful. Thank you. All right, Brian is coming to the stage.
Brian,
Ryan,
into the stage.
yes.
Okay, well, I haven't prepared because I wasn't going to read. As I said, I'm not a poet. I love poetry, but every time I've tried to write a poem, it's ended up a jumbled mess.
Oh,
But I love poetry. I love the rhythm of poetry. I love music because I love rhythm. I think that poetry is like music in its rhythm and whatnot. But I try to write poetically. I just plucked this out. I'm gonna read a short piece from my novel, The Astronomer, which is on the back wall there. Paul, you might have heard this, I'm not sure. So The Astronomer is about a young man, an astronomer, and he thinks that he has the ability to fly amongst out in the cosmos and make scientific discoveries and find the answer to these philosophical questions that plague him. So what I'm going to read is one of the latter. You could call this the edge of the universe. The edge of the universe is a strange place. For one thing, it doesn't exist. At least not like you or I experience existence. At the edge of the universe, there's no time or space, for those concepts have no meaning where nothing is. The universe is infinite, and being infinite, it has no center. Where then lies the edge that doesn't exist? I must travel then to this edge that doesn't exist. In my spaceship, I must go. And when I reach the place where the edge should be, I find that it is not. I see that the heavens stretch to the horizon and beyond. There is no alternative but to repeat the process, and this is what I do. After what seems an eternity, I find the place where the edge must be. It's a line of apparently limitless extent, separating that which is from that which is not. I fly around it in my spaceship, study it, if you will, from each one of 360 degrees, circumscribing that ray of demarcation, making it the center of its own universe. I rejoice in the success of my quest until I realize what a fool I've been. The edge of the universe? I've found nothing of the sort. It was merely a marker for the next expanse. The edge of the universe is as elusive as can be. It's there, I know it, but it's not there today. Nothing I can do but soldier on. That's it.
wow. Wow. Please tell me that this book is like in an audio book too, because and that you are the one that is voicing it. Because not only do you have a poet's soul, you're you're a performer.
I love to read.
Oh my gosh,
mean,
it's wonderful.
I guess I'm kind of like Paul. If there's anything I like more than writing, it's reading.
Yeah, oh my
Brian,
gosh.
you are a poet.
You
Well,
just
are.
I'll pass that on to
just-
my publisher. Maybe she'll
You
let
tell them you are a poet.
Absolutely. That was
Oh, yeah.
wonderful. And
I've read the
Everybody,
novel.
I've been putting Paul's uh uh link to his book in the chat. I didn't want to forget to say that. So make sure you check it out. But also,
I have. It's
I,
terrific.
huh?
I have.
You
It's
have, right? But I
yeah, it's
want you to
great.
put your book in the chat too.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah,
Please do. Oh my gosh.
it's a lovely book, not
Yeah.
just to read, but it's also has this magical realism flavor that goes on all through it, in which you're with this guy who may or may not be doing all this.
Right. Wow.
If he isn't, it kind of doesn't matter because it's so beautiful.
I love it already. I love it already.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to unpin. And next on the mic, we will have Shamala coming forward with something wonderful, right? Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Well, no more or less wonderful than the space and the people and all the wonderful readings. And Paul, I was struck by how many of your poems, in the course of the narrative, there would be a sentence you could just take that sentence and it's something about life and how it should be lived and how it should be approached that is timeless. And it happened over and over and over. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I just write them down.
Well, you're a good listener when they come to you, so we're grateful. This poem is from Kai Coggin's prompt for Christmas. I think it was Christmas or New Year. She had poems of love and presence. And this is called Holding. Do you want carrots? She asked, the woman at the farmer's market who started hugging and holding on when I had cancer. Holding with understanding, solace, solidarity that was nothing and everything. Anchoring my threatened life with her body's strength. Touching to bless. To share a burden past bearing. But we have them though, don't we? Those unbearable burdens. I was neither uniquely cursed, nor am I uniquely blessed, nor the blesser unique. Many women began holding me spontaneously. Present together. We are present together here, now, beloveds. Hold, be held. A stranger told me when I lost a babe, unborn, the little one is in heaven with God. You must not wish it back. She held my grief, so I was free not to. Spill yours now, beloveds. It is the holidays, when celebrations trigger memory of every absence, every pain. Spill it here, now. And then perhaps a little eggnog, some special cider, mulled wine, devil curry, made most frequently at Christmas, I know not why, or coconut candy or holiday fruit bread or any other thing your heart desires. It's all here, all held. All will be yours, mine, ours, when the holding time is done. For now, hold hard, hold on, hold together. We are none of us alone, and this is why, that last market day before Christmas, a lady who knows me only through those moments at the market kept back for me a last bunch of my favorite sweet carrots. Why dead aunties appeared at the foot of my bed the night after I got divorced. Why my father, dead these 20 years, still sometimes comforts me. We do not die in love. There is always, somewhere, a favorite carrot saved just for you and me and all of us.
Beautiful. Um, almost wordless, beautiful. She held my grief, so I don't have to. Didn't
I
have
think
to.
it's the only way we're going to survive the present.
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And I think it's so, every time I listen to a poem, it might be representative of some other space and time, but it always seems to, especially when I hear your poetry, there's always something in it that touches the now. That holding of grief, my God. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. What? Karen? Did someone say Karen? Karen Stewart? They did. Someone said it.
What a shame.
No, no.
Oh my goodness, this is too much fun tonight, you guys. I know a lot of y'all have been suffering through my tarot inspired poems. So tonight I'm going to have you suffer through an oracle card poem instead. So this is Into the Unknown, reversed lucky 7, responding to the oracle card. Garbed in shades of black, in black silk gloves, on open hands raised up, the dark-haired woman raises up her arms in unresisting pose. She's dangling and untangling of black cords from her right hand, swinging from her left a winged golden key on a shiny golden chain, with the mystery of a gleaming white talisman dangling from the chain's other end. The dark-haired woman is poised in darkness, in being blind, folded. She is bound by the green-black bustier she wears, yet flowing with the breeze's gentle wavings of the folds of her purple-black skirt. Blooming red hearts are drifting from the scent of purple wisteria, which climbs a white marble rail as she leans into standing sure-footed, sensing one foot in a black, one foot in a white marble checkerboard square, sensing that behind her a hazy blue sky is drifting through gray, white, gray pillows of clouds as backdrop, to maybe even just the idea of the hint of a rainbow materializing, even while lacy gray feathers wisp the black inferno of her hair, kissing her shoulders and throat like a collar of soft gray angel wings. As a bluebird perches beside her, waiting for its time to sing, the dark-haired woman is conjuring, waiting for light to reveal itself. There you go. There's
Wow. Wow. She is conjuring.
She is conjuring.
She
So
is
I
conjuring.
love these. I love writing in response to these cards because I don't know. It's just fun seeing what layers the images will sling at you and where you might go with it. So
Have you
thanks for
ever
tolerating my obsession.
have you ever pulled a card and interpreted the card in your way, and then past that time something happened that reflected that card? Have you
Um,
ever tied your pull and your poem to something that happens?
Not really, because I'm not really asking. I'm not like in the movies where people go and they're sitting with the person that's going to read their cards and they ask a question and then they're looking for advice or they're looking for an omen to look for when something happens so they'll get a clue. That's
Mhm.
really not what I'm doing. I'm literally, if I ask a question, it's always just, what might I consider today?
Right.
And then I just pull a card and I'm open to whatever's in the card and I just kind of go from there. So I'm really not looking for guidance or signs, but I love some metaphors. I'm always looking for that.
I,
So,
I'm
you know,
fascinated. I'm always fascinated.
that's what I'm doing. That's what the cards and I are doing. We're
Right.
just trying to inspire each other in some kind of way. And sometimes it does trigger something where I'll maybe get clarity on some wackadoo thing that has been going on in my head or that I've been trying to figure out or,
Right.
wish I could do something better about it.
Mhm.
It just kind of opens you up into not being in your own head, but just kind of, oh, I'm going to look at this pretty art and see what I see. And then you might be like, the feather is just like that crazy neighbor.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh. Karen is wild. She's wild and we love her. All right. Coming up, Miss Deborah Kaufman. I'm going to pin you.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. What a delightful evening this is. I'm just loving it, every minute of it. Karen, I love what you're doing with those cards. It's just, I love that stuff too. And birds, I mean, everything that's been talked about are like all things that resonate so much with me. And it's just been really fun. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, I couldn't decide what to read, but I thought I would read this one. I'm really interested in artists being subversive and taking back a different narrative in these times that we have. And when Paul was reading about the graffiti, I just remembered these German graffiti artists who were going around and painting over Nazi symbols and making beautiful art out of it. Is sort of like kind of related to what Paul was talking about. And I just like, yeah, I love that idea. So anyway, I was thinking about this derogatory cat ladies that came out around before the election. So this is my cat ladies poem, and I've been having fun with pantoums and sort of moderating them a little bit. So this is called Cat Ladies. Do not pity us. We're still curious, though perhaps less ambitious than before. We read Jane Austen, cats purring on our laps. Who cares what others think? Is it less ambitious or more sensible to no longer bother tinting our hair? Who cares what others think? Give us comfortable shoes, soft clothes, the desire to no longer bother tinting our hair. We'll rail outside the courthouse in our comfortable shoes, soft clothes, when we know justice must be done. Yes, we'll rail outside the courthouse, though we may prefer Jane Austen, cats on laps, because we know justice must be done. So do not pity us. We're still curious.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Oh my goodness. I love it. And I love your cat earrings. I see you. I see you. Yes.
I'm a cat
Oh,
lover.
yes. I would have a cat, except I'm allergic. So there's
Bummer,
that.
bummer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Well,
okay. It's okay.
yeah, that's
I've got kids and they're still around. So
no, I get that. My son is allergic too, so yeah,
yes, thank you so much.
you bet.
All right. Kelsey Weimer.
Yes.
Yes, you're up next. You ready?
Yeah. So I only started writing poetry in like October, so I feel a little bit out of place.
No, you're good.
But this is called Constellations of the Forgotten.
Hmm.
Each constellation is a scar across time, a stitch in the night's patchwork quilt. I trace my feeble fingers across Orion's belt and hear soldiers' boots crunch through frost, their breath rising like prayers to a heaven that never answered. Beneath the haze of twilight's glow, I fix my gaze upon one lone star. Its tranquil gleam speaks tongues older than Babel, its light carrying the weight of voices long buried. I dream of sea songs, of tides carrying psalms, of women who braided dreams of fury into the wind, their names lost, but their hands still felt in the soil. And as I stand on this ground, this coastline humming with forgotten lives, I feel the stars watching, their light pouring through the cracks of history, telling me I am here because they once were.
Outstanding. You said you started writing poetry when?
October.
October. Are you a poetry reader as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. That was excellent. We love new poets, love new poets. But you probably like have been a poet all your life and it just came out. That's all. That's it.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you here and in this community. Right. How'd you find out about it?
So there's a little bit of a story. I
Okay.
do theater, right?
Yes.
And I was at auditions, and I've kind of the thing about theater is like you make friends kind of with people of all ages, regardless of how old you are. So I've this kind of friend who is a lot older than me. He writes for the Daily Reflector and he writes poetry a lot. So he challenged me at auditions to write poetry. So I did. And a couple days later, I heard about the poetry reading at Melinda Thompson.
Yes.
And I went there. And I think it was you or someone else who told me about the Gilbert Chapel thing. So
Right.
I wrote a couple, I submitted them, I was accepted, and I've been writing since.
Yay. Very good. We're so glad. And we're so you're Eastern North Carolina. Yes. Oh, shout out for Greenville. Okay. Yes. Greenville, North Carolina, where, poetry is on the rise. And we're just so happy you're here. I'm going to pull in someone else. Do you know Jay Sean Glover? Kelsey?
I think I met you.
Yeah. Jay Sean, she thinks she met you.
The name sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar. Okay. Well, I just want you to know the poets that are around you. And Jay Sean is from Greenville as well, and he's a great poet. And as a matter of fact, he's gonna be coming up next. Jay Sean, you ready?
Yes.
Hold on. Let me pin you. Okay, there you go. Okay.
This poem is something I wrote at work, and honestly, it's a little spicy. Me and my friends were always talking about the people we think are cute and so on and so forth. And so this poem's based on that. This is called I Like Men Who Buy Flowers. This is how the story always goes. He's taken. His body screams it from the ring on his finger to the red mark on his collarbone that I imagine myself putting there. And he laughs with the florist as I stop from my station, eyes locked and overloaded with beauty. I think he's teasing me with his tight black shirt and short shorts that leave nothing to the imagination. I've always been fond of fiction, but real life has the friction without the mental restrictions. And with a wave of his hand and his flash of a smile that wasn't meant for me, I've fallen in love for the 10th time this week. Yes, he's straight. It's painfully obvious from the backward snapback and musky cologne that swamps the store, but I'm sure he is the one. And yes, his wallpaper is a photo of his wife, but that's only a minor inconvenience because I'm the hotter person with the better personality. So it's home improving, not home wrecking, though I have some things I wish he would wreck. But I'm snapped out of this fantasy when he laughs with the florist as she hands him the bouquet. He waves her goodbye, calls his wife, and tells her he has a surprise. This is how the story goes. Always a lily for the lady, a gardenia for the girlfriend, a mum for a mom, and wisteria for a wife, and never sunflowers for me.
Oh, wow. That's my dude. Jay Sean. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And your work and the way that word rhythm you had, just absolutely phenomenal. You give me hope. You give me hope for the young poets and our the perpetuation of poetry. Yeah. Yes, very good. Very good. Thank you so much for sharing with us and being here. I love it when people a few years younger than myself show up. Very good. Very good. All right. Next on the mic, my girl, Christy Williams.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay, so I don't follow rules. So all of my haikus have titles. I don't care. So they're of haiku dimensions, we'll say that. And this one just got accepted by the Modesto Poetry Center for a chapbook that they did 30 days of prompts, and then you sent in and they picked which one of yours they would publish. And so this one is called Pruning, a poem adorned with haiku trimmings. Childhood's apple tree, I'm just left of 2 dog graves. Life's death shaped my rings. Thank you.
Wow. Christy, say it one more time because I think you're supposed to do a haiku twice.
Okay.
Don't cheat us. Come on.
Pruning, a poem adorned with haiku trimmings. Childhood's apple tree, I am just left of 2 dog graves. Life's death shaped my rings.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, I
Thank
see
you.
why that poem made it into, you say Modesto, California, as in Modesto,
Yes.
California. Oh, yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have the Laura Younger with us this evening. I'm so glad to see her. I feel like I haven't seen her in forever. So
I got booted out of here earlier.
Oh.
So I just got back on and I thought, well, I wonder if I was supposed to read already.
yeah, right on time, sis. Right on time. Okay, hold on. Just
Okay, I have some new ones that I call November poems.
Okay.
1. Holly berries brighten in the autumn woods as the morning sun argues its way through clouds, and only the jays can be heard above the squirrels still quarreling over their winter stores. 2. Tell me about the woods in late November. The last yellowing leaves cling to near-naked limbs, a lone maple still afire, blowing in gray dawn. Branches sway to the wind's strange tune. It seems to me that the trees wish to lift their feet in a jig, but know that, uprooted, they would die. So we walk the leaf-strewn track, read the ruins of fallen trees, their message a reminder of what's to come. Thank you.
Wow. Yes, we'll raid the ruins of fallen trees. Yes.
It's runes.
It's a rune. Thank you so much. Laura, I'm just so happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I know. Anyway, I guess that only leaves me. And usually I don't like to end it with me. But this is I had pulled 2. I was gonna do the one I have Brian, I had a piece accepted in a speculative fiction magazine, and it was about spacefaring aunties. And I was gonna do that one, but it's just a little too long. So I'll say you have to come back and I'll do that then.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, it's good. No, I'm long. You're good. I'm just Paul, this is a villanelle. I'm not a villanelle writer, but you said villanelle. This poem hasn't been published anywhere. I don't expect it will be. But I am going to share it because you inspire me. Okay. All right. I guess I should pin myself, maybe. Okay, there we go. This is called Small Gods of Earth, a villanelle. Small gods of earth are prideful, stubborn men that will not yield their privilege for peace while flesh cries out for violence to end. When did the troubles of the meek begin, marked from their birth to run and fight and see? Small gods of earth are prideful, stubborn men. Now in these darkened hours walks again brown skins that catch the eyes of fearful fools, while flesh cries out for violence to end. For must there be some potion set within to cure the raging demons that befriend small gods of earth, are prideful, stubborn men. Tear down hypocrisy that sanctions sin, when guns and knees on necks elicit death, while flesh cries out for violence to end. For this I know we cannot strive to mend unless we smite the bias from our hearts. Small gods of earth are prideful, stubborn men, while flesh cries out for violence to end. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Yay, a villanelle.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Yes,
villanelle. It was a
ma'am.
villanelle, and it was very like this, very literal, non-contemporary
Mm.
villanelle.
That was fire, Regina.
Huh?
That was fire. That was
Oh,
fire.
thank you. Y'all are kind. Y'all are kind. You know, hey, thank you, Deborah. Oh. I don't want to end it with me. I'm just wondering, like, got 5 minutes, Paul Jones.
Paul
Is there
Jones got something up his sleeve.
one more
new.
poem? One
Pull
more.
it out, Paul.
Come on. Hold on. Let me pin you.
And Paul, you can go either way.
I could
You can
go
give us
either
something
way.
that's not in either of these or either of these. We'll be happy.
So here's a pretty short one. It's called The Saint of Trees. What is the proper sacrifice to please our Lord, the Saint of Trees? I asked the ferns for their advice. What is the proper sacrifice? Lie here and dream of paradise. Sink into the soil like leaves. That is the proper sacrifice to please our Lord, the Saint of Trees.
Yes.
Which book is that in, Paul?
It's in Something Necessary, I'm pretty sure. And it was also put in plain sight because, you know, it's a trialette. So it's just another great little repeating form. Like you only get 8 lines and 3 of them or 1 are taken by the second line and 2 of them are taken by the first line. So you only have to make up a very few lines. But that the challenge, of course, is to make it say something.
There's something.
And it's I think it's in here. Well, maybe not.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was nice thinking about it. I'm not sure which one is in. It may not be in either, actually.
I thought it was
Paul,
in Something Wonderful.
I don't think
It
it's
might
in
be.
either one.
I think it's in Wonderful, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's in the monkey, as we like to call it, the Bat Book or the Monkey Book.
Right.
The monkey. What was the title of it, Paul? I'm looking.
Saint of Trees. It's in alphabetical order, so you should be able to get it.
It is on page 74 in Something Wonderful.
Okay.
Yes. It's also
Thank you, Karen.
you can also hear Paul read it again.
Oh, that's right.
I think on the Poetry Society page, you know, when I was, you know,
It is there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's there as part of the Poetry in Plain Sight series.
That's right.
Oh, sweet.
right.
You know, I just, for those who are not old hat, hardcore North Carolina Poetry Society member folks, y'all please be sure and visit the North Carolina Poetry Society's website. And if Facebook is not too ungroovy for you, we have a hopping Facebook page, and Regina is largely responsible for that content. So lots of good things going on, good poetry people there. It's a great way to connect and find out about everything groovy in the poetry world.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here on
Paul.
behalf of the North Carolina Poetry Society External Programs Committee. Karen Stewart and me. We a committee of two. we are just happy that you came. We hope that you will continue to join us for more opportunities to hear about great writers across North Carolina, and even writers who are right here as members of our Poetry Society. If you have something coming up or coming out yourself, shoot me an email, okay, and let me know, and we'll be glad to get you on board. I'm so glad we finally were able to get Paul to fit us into his busy schedule.
Yay.
Yay. And so this will be this is of course videoed, and it will be on the website. Also, if you have not already copied these links and you don't have the book, then you need to go on and do that. Yeah, and that's
Buy
it.
books, people.
Buy books. Buy books.
Oh,
All right, thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for everybody out there in the listening audience for
Regina,
tuning
I
in.
think somebody was trying to ask a question.
Oh, I just
Oh.
wanted to ask, talking about books that were coming out.
Mhm.
Regina, your new book, is it on pre-sale now, or?
Well, I saw it. I went up and I don't know if the link is up there yet, but I suspect it will be.
Yeah, because you had said January, and I was looking. I was like, have I missed this yet?
Yeah. This is everything is ready. So hope the book itself will be out in February. So I'm excited about that.
Well, I hope
Can't
we're going to
wait.
see news of that on the Facebook page and on the website, maybe.
You will, yeah, you will.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You will. Yeah. Poetry matters a lot. It really, really is just a balm that I think can help all of us. And so I encourage you to keep writing and inspiring other people to kind of join in.
What's the name of your book, Regina, that's coming out?
Whispers from the Multiverse. Whispers from the Multiverse is published by Aquarius Press, Willow Books. And so, yeah, I'm excited. It's my first full-length collection, so looking forward to reading from that and talking about that. Okay. Well, you all have a great evening, and thank you.
Thank you,
for-
Regina,
Thank
for
you so much for
hosting,
having me.
making this happen. Thank you, Paul, so much.
Thank you.